Imagine this. You're standing on a remote island in the South Pacific. It's the 15th of February. But the year doesn't matter. It could be any year in the 21st century. The air is thick with humidity. The jungle hums with life. And then suddenly, silence. From the dense green emerges a procession. Men marching in rhythmic unison across a makeshift airstrip. Some wear nothing but fitted denim jeans. Others are clad in faded U.S. military fatigues. Their bodies move with purpose and precision. But what truly makes the scene surreal is what they carry. Long bamboo poles, their tips painted a bright red, sway in their hands like rifles in a soldier's grip. From a distance, it looks like a ghostly echo of an American military parade. Except this is no drill, and no American soldiers are in sight. Onlookers cheer with reverence as the soldiers march. Upon their chest and back, boldly painted in crimson, spells the letters USA. Then on the hill above the village, another group of men stand in formation. Towering tree trunks, stripped bare, rise beside them like flagpoles awaiting their banners. Dressed in handcrafted replicas of U.S. military uniforms, these men carefully unfold a piece of cloth. It's the American flag, or to the people in this procession, it is better known as Old Glory. And when Old Glory is hoisted high into the wind, the crowd below breaks into song. But this isn't a celebration of America, at least not precisely in the way one might expect. Instead, it is a sacred ritual, a calling, a promise. Soon, the village chief begins his sermon, his voice rising in intensity. He speaks not of gods from ancient legends, but of modern Messiah, a mysterious figure who will return bringing with him wealth, salvation, and cargo.
He says you follow what John, and maybe sometime you look we come, mailboat and plane.
An airplane.
Airplane, everything.
And they will bring the cargo.
Yeah.
And what will the cargo be?
Cargo is American.
You might ask, who is he? And they will all say, John Frum.
I first heard about cargo cults in New Guinea 2 or 3 years ago. And then a missionary explained them to me, and he put it like this. He said, imagine that you are a New Guinea man, and you've lived all your life in what is virtually the Stone Age. You've never seen metal or any of the other strange things that Europeans have. And then one day, you meet a strange white-faced man who has the most incredible things. He has jeeps, he has petrol lamps, he has glasses, he has simple things like a fountain pen. And you look at a thing like this, and the first thing you say is that whatever else this is, this couldn't possibly have been made by man. I mean, how could you chip this, or how could you weave it? And if it isn't made by man, then it must come from the gods.
But specifically, we are here to look at the cult of John Frum. And so, how did this movement come to be? As many of you know, on December 7th, 1941, Japan launched a surprise attack on the U.S. naval base of Pearl Harbor. This event brought the United States into World War II, and with it, the Pacific theater of war. To wage war against Imperial Japan, Allied forces had to first reclaim islands Japan had occupied.
Transporting supplies and equipment thousands of miles from their home bases. Welcomed by young and old alike, the Devil Dogs, as they're called, are at home in any climate.
These islands were then strategically used as bases for launching further military offensives. Unsurprisingly, many of these islands were already inhabited by indigenous people who had lived there for centuries, if not millennia. Most of them had little or no contact with the outside world prior to this World War. The sudden arrival of first Japanese and then Western soldiers, machinery, and supplies marked their first major encounter with modernity. Now, although Tanna wasn't a primary military site, many of its men were recruited as laborers for the Allied forces in specific primary sites. This placed them close enough to hear about what was happening, but too far to fully see or understand the true reality. This created the perfect environment for myths and stories to evolve around what became known as the cargo. To the indigenous people, this cargo represented a miraculous, almost divine bounty, far beyond what they believed any human could create. Cargo became the catch-all term for these mysterious goods, and thus a mythology began to form around it.
Why has it come to these white-faced people? They've done nothing to deserve it. They don't make them themselves, you can see that. What's more, they don't even do any work. They don't fish in the lagoon. They don't sweat in the hot sun, digging their gardens and planting their yams. They don't cut coconuts. In fact, they do senseless, useless things. They put up great masts with wires on the top, and at the bottom they have boxes which they listen to as they make funny noises.
Faced with such abundance, some of the people of Tanna made a logical but fundamentally flawed assumption. They believed that the military practices of the U.S. forces, things like drills, formations, and radio operations, were not mundane duties, but sacred rituals used to summon the cargo. In the case of the John Frum cult, this also extended to mythologizing the source of the cargo, America itself. The cult's assumptions were partly correct, as the soldiers did perform specific actions that brought cargo, but their understanding of how and why that happened was rooted in mysticism, rather than geopolitical and military logistics. When the war ended, the soldiers left, and inevitably the cargo left with them, but the myth did not. With no physical presence to ground their beliefs in, such as the soldiers or the cargo, stories began to evolve. Over time, they blended with pre-existing myth and spiritual systems, transforming into a full-fledged religion centered on the prophecy of John Frum. Seeing John Frum as this figure that would, at the end of the day, bring them back their salvation and their prosperity. This is a stunning example of ethnocentric misinterpretation taken to the very extreme. Now, is this the end of the story? Technically, yes. However, the history runs much deeper than most people realize. It's a story that spans history, war, colonialism, cultural isolation, and spiritual resilience. And it's far more than just a misunderstood fascination with material goods. Anyways, I'm just yapping. Thank you for listening if you reached this point, and I will see you in the next one, the part 2 of this one. Bye-bye.